This is Bayern Munich playing some of the most entertaining football at the elite level right now. And if you think football has become too cagey and risk averse, well, Vincent Kompany said, forget all that, my team is different. And so today we're looking at 3 ways that Bayern Munich are different and how they're reaching actually unprecedented levels of goal scoring. I didn't think Vincent Kompany's Bayern would be interesting at all. Another Guardiola disciple, as if we didn't already have enough of those, in a team that dominates the Bundesliga almost every year. What is there to talk about? Well, over a year in, and this team has become a lot more interesting than I ever expected. They're not only dominating the Bundesliga, they're making a mockery of it. At the time of recording, they're scoring over 4 goals a game, which, if they were to keep up, would be by far the highest scoring season ever in a top 5 league. And Kompany's tactics seem to have opposition managers absolutely stumped. On paper, Bayern start with a 4-2-3-1, as we can see here on FootMob, but like all teams, shift dramatically in possession. In reality, Bayern build up with a very typical 3-1 shape, 2 centre-backs plus one of the pivots dropping in to make a 3. And aside from a couple of details, the way they move the ball in these areas feels very standard. It's really what's happening ahead of this shape that is so fascinating, in particular, the surprising roles of the 9 and the 10. Usually Harry Kane and Serge Gnabry. You'll notice in a lot of Bayern possessions these 2 players floating around, not really pinned to a position or in rotation with anyone else. Gnabry will show up deep on the right or on the left, and Kane as the 9 is doing a lot of drifting and dropping as well, both of them going to the ball rather than holding a position. And what's unusual and quite unique to Bayern is that by doing this, these 2 forwards become key playmakers of the team. However, what I want to highlight here is not player autonomy itself, but the potential for combinations that it creates in Bayern's attack. So without positional restriction, quite often you'll see both 9 and 10 together on the same side, creating a hub through which Bayern's attacks can develop. So here, for example, we see Gnabry, Kane, and Olise actually all within the same orbit, and it's their quick combinations that cut through a low block. Of course, it's too easy just to say get players close together and break opponents. The key really is that when players do come together, they're speaking the same footballing language. And Bayern are combining in ways that are pretty basic, but often not prioritized, even in top teams. Principles like pass and move, flicks around the corner, and 1-2s. For a while, we saw teams focus much more on spreading out and attacking occupied zones, rather than these close combinations. Although that is now shifting slightly, and being less strict about zone occupation creates better conditions for these moves. Kompany's Bayern are certainly leaning into them, and just in general are making the 1-2 more fundamental in their game. So that's the first major way Kompany's Bayern set themselves apart, elements of positional freedom leading to combination play. But what's so interesting is that to make this work, Bayern have had to do some pretty radical things elsewhere, including a frankly genius use of fullbacks. If the forwards are the main creators in the side, the ones getting on the ball and making things happen, then the fullbacks you can think of more as runners, doing their work off the ball to support those creators. Now positionally they aren't really fullbacks at all, both of them start narrow and quite high, often next to the pivot or even inside the wingers. However, they are the most dynamic players in this entire team and end up moving about a lot in order to compensate for the positional freedom of their teammates. So on the most basic level, you'll see them simply filling in the spaces left by the forwards when they move around. If the winger Olise wants to drift in, then it's Lima who fills that space out wide. And over on the left, a more extreme example, Kane wants to drop deep to get on the ball, leaving a space up front, and it's actually Stanisic, the left back, that runs into that space. And this is an interesting take on modern positional play principles. You hear coaches talk about maintaining both width and depth in order to stretch the opposition, but rather than assign those jobs to permanent positions like winger and interior, they are roles given to these fullbacks, whose job is to constantly ensure the team has both width and depth despite any fluidity around them. That makes these players quite difficult to pin down by the opposition because they're moving almost constantly and into positions that directly threaten the back line. Lima, for example, has more touches in the box than any other fullback in the league. He's created a significant number of chances and gets a good amount of shots off as well. You can see here they're all coming from that right half space. This off-the-ball threat from the fullbacks is another reason the forwards can be so free. You'll notice quite often when Kane drops in, the space has actually been created by an underlapping run from the left back, drawing a defender and leaving a pocket for him to receive. And these kind of relationships are the foundation of Bayern's football. However, the really amazing thing is that the relationships I'm talking about aren't just about 1 or 2 players becoming in sync. No, Bayern as an entire unit is exceptionally well coordinated, which is perhaps surprising given the degrees of autonomy that the forwards have. But to demonstrate why it works, I want to show you the most impressive thing about this team, something that may just shift the blueprint for modern attacking football.
And everybody will recognize the talent and say, well, it's normal that they win, or it's normal that they... But in reality, I would love this team to communicate something that is maybe not so normal, you know?
The exceptional thing about this version of Bayern is that beyond talented individuals, they're a near complete attacking team, able to be unpredictable while remaining coordinated. And the key to that is the incredible variety in their attacking sequences. Take any attack, and as the opposition, it's hard to predict what route they're going to take. As we've seen, they're very capable of playing around you, using the wingers in conjunction with underlapping fullbacks to pierce the wide areas, but just as likely are balls in behind. Once again, they have a plethora of willing runners to stretch defences and be direct. But most importantly, a route that very few teams are willing to take consistently, Bayern are always threatening to go through you, probing with inside passes and keeping those central players on their toes. This is where those combinations around the forwards become so important, because they give a genuine option of playing through spaces that for most teams are too small or too risky. Now, doing any one of these things well would make you a decent attacking team, but with each additional option, you get exponentially better, because not only do you force your opponent to react to your movement, knowing full well you can take that option, but your players remain attuned to the alternatives, creating a near impossible situation to defend. There's a goal against Leipzig where Bayern have the defence on strings for about a minute straight. They go wide and back in, inside, then out, threaten wide combinations, dribbles, runs in behind, and then they finish the move with a dagger ball through the middle and a lovely flick into Diaz, who started on the left. It's an incredible goal, and it's not really about any one moment. Although it's finished nicely, it's the balancing of all these potentialities at the same time that kills the defence. Even this deep with 11 men behind the ball, they can't account for this level of unpredictability. So once again, the potency of Bayern's attack goes far beyond individual quality, and moments that may look individual on the surface often exploit the opportunities created by the collective. Kompany's Bayern Munich are not a perfect team, but as an attacking force, it's hard to find a more exceptional example right now. Does that mean they'll smash the all-time goal-scoring record? It's possible, but still unlikely. Right now they are overperforming their XG quite significantly, so you would expect that number to come down a little bit. Regardless, that won't stop them from being a very entertaining watch, and a team I highly recommend tuning into. By the way, if you're interested in where I get these stats from, they come from the FootMob app. It's the app I personally use for lineups, scores, tables, all of that good stuff. FootMob have kindly sponsored this video, and the link to download the app will be in the description, so I highly recommend downloading that. I've also just released a bonus podcast episode on Bayern Munich, where I talk about all the stuff that didn't make it into this video, including, I think, the most underrated player in the world, and a huge reason why Kompany's approach is working at Bayern. So if you want to check that out and unlock all of my bonus content, you can become a Patreon member for $2 a month, or just $12 for a whole year. It greatly supports the channel, and you can get some bonus content too. Thank you so much to all my current members, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.